Hello, I'm Steve. A little about myself. I'm a retired law enforcement officer with 20 years of service. I began my career in the jail, worked the road, and became an investigator. During my career, my training consisted of everything from SWAT to becoming a state certified crime scene technician. I've investigated crimes from thefts to homicides. After retiring and becoming aware of true crime and web sleuths, I started my channel for web sleuths to better understand the perspectives of law enforcement. Not only do we cover true crime, I go out into the field and assist families who have lost loved ones to homicide and their cases are considered cold. Join me as we look and bring attention to these critical cases.
Hello, everyone. Glad you're able to join us tonight. If you're new to this channel, we wish to welcome you. And while you're here, always be mindful while you're in chat to be respectful of family, mods, and each other. We'll have a presentation that we normally have at the beginning of the show. And during that presentation, if any questions that you have, just throw them in there. Mrs. Steve here will get them organized, and we'll address each of those questions at the end of the show. Tonight, we're going to be talking about, of course, Richard Allen's this madhouse fiasco that we have about the previous attorneys claiming that they were ambushed in this recent court hearing, or wasn't even a hearing. It never even got to that point of when Baldwin withdrew from the case. And then Rosie advised that, or through the judge advised that he would be submitting his withdrawal a few days later. That hasn't come down the pipe yet. So where we're at now is, of course, the attorneys spent a few days, I guess, looking back, and they have changed their mind. And we've had all different types of filings throughout the court system, even all the way up to the Indiana Supreme Court, of where certain issues are addressed about how many documents have been sealed, how much information has been sealed on this case, how closed it is, and it's not open to the public. And so there's going to be a lot of things that will be addressed by higher courts, probably pretty quick, to clarify some things. But during today's hearing, there were some things that came out, and we had both the new attorneys and the old attorneys, plus the prosecution, all within the courthouse. And of course, it's as always where we're at in here. There's several different opinions. You look at some of the attorneys out there who have far greater knowledge about where this thing is going to go, and I have my opinion of where I wish it would go and what would happen. And we're going to talk about that. For the fact is that at the end of the day, I think that the courts will side with Richard Allen. And but the important thing that we're going to talk about this ambush is, we saw through some recent releases, speaking specifically about the 136-page Frank's motion that was put out there, of how some of the information and these attorneys of Baldwin and Rosie kind of sidestep a gag order, but did it within legal proceedings, and everything so. It caused a great ruckus among so many people, and it released a lot of information about the crime scene, and people were accused publicly that have that hadn't been entered into the limelight of this case until that 136 pages came out. And so there was a lot of things that happened from that dime store novel release, because that's what it reads like to me. And what type of issues did that create? And then we see with the release of some of the crime scene images, and we know that some images out there are part of this case, and they've been released prematurely and leaked, and the judge is not happy with that. They investigated it. They figured out where it came from. Of course, it came from the defense. And that's what's brought us to this stage and how the court was going to address it. And it's through this that these attorneys, the old attorneys, said that they were basically ambushed, coerced, and it came out of nowhere. But that's not the case. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. That this judge didn't ambush them, because we're talking about a 2-week period of where this investigation, before we as and the public knew what was going on and some of the communications. But there's emails out there that create a timeline between the judge, Judge Gull, the attorneys, and the prosecutor. And all of them are involved, and they're sending, and we only probably have, there's a few emails that we're looking at, and I'm sure that there was probably more phone calls, and there's probably other communications that we are unaware of, especially with law enforcement speaking to everyone involved. And so there's probably a huge file on this, and we don't have all that information. We only have limited information. But this timeline is important, and it's important for this fact that these attorneys, the older attorneys, Baldwin and Rosie, are saying that we were ambushed. We had no idea this was coming on. That doesn't appear to be the case. And it's very important to realize that when you are trying to request something through the court system, and you go up there and you submit what the wrong that has been done to you and your client, you better be pretty truthful on that and straightforward. And because judges don't like people to play games with the courts. And regardless of how high up that court is, we're talking about from Judge Gull's position all the way up through the other higher courts that will be advising and whatever their findings may be during the coming days, that they don't want the judicial system to be a story above what justice is for Richard Allen, and we shouldn't. Now, as far as the justice, it appears right now that Libby and Abby are a side story, and that is absolutely something I cannot. It's sickening. It angers me so much that the story starts off with what is going on with the attorneys. It's not what's going on with the case for Libby and Abby. It's focused totally on these attorneys, and that shouldn't be the case. The main storyline shouldn't be these attorneys. Now, has the case been harmed irreparably that Richard Allen can't get a fair trial? No. We're not even there. You'll see sometimes that there'll be a trial going on, there'll be a jury seated, and something comes out of it, and it absolutely stops the trial, and the judge may declare a mistrial. We're nowhere near that, and so that's not even going to be an issue. I think that once the evidence and once the jury is seated in another year, October of next year, that regardless of who is representing Allen and who the judge is, if it's the same judge or not, I have no idea. But I'm going to tell you what my brothers would be here in just a few minutes. But anyway, let's get into the presentation. If you have any information about this case, make absolutely sure that law enforcement, prosecution, defense, anyone involved in this case has that information. If you have anything that can have any type of influence on this case, it needs to be there, and it needs to be in the right hands so that we can have justice for Libby and Abby, because that's who this whole thing is about. All right, this is the timeline. And now I've got the emails. They've been cut down a little bit and everything, but this is basically the timeline that went on since October the 6th, when the defense attorney, Rosie, first sent to the court and says, hey, we've had a leak. And at that time, they didn't know where the leak was. No one knew who the leak was or where it was coming from. The prosecution had already been working on it probably from around the 5th or the 4th, from what Rosie said. And so, but on the 6th, he becomes aware of it. And he notifies the judge, hey, we've got bad issues. There's some of these, there's a YouTube channel out there. There's people know about it, and something needs to be done about it. And then on the 8th, Gull replies back. Now, I'm sure that there was a lot of communications that happened with other people, and there's a massive investigation case file out there. And because there's a lot of things that went on, and a lot of people were affected in ways that we won't be covering or discussing tonight. But anyway, Gull told that to the prosecution and to the defense that there will be an investigation, and they list out what you should and who she assumes is being spoken to, and what she assumes will happen, and what will happen, because the judges will absolutely make sure that they're going to gain and gather back control of the situation, and that has happened. It's back under control now. It's in court systems. People may not approve or agree. The attorneys, I've watched them today, they were arguing back and forth what was going on and which way should it go and what would be the final answer. And like I said, there's remedies for this, and it will come and justice will be found. The evidence that law enforcement has gathered at the crime scene, it will hold. And whatever it's there, whatever the story is, and as it's presented, it will bring justice whichever way it goes for Libby and Abby. I have confidence in that. But then on October the 11th, Richard Allen sends a request to the judge acknowledging that he knows that the prosecution has asked for his attorneys to be disqualified, be removed from the case. And so this happened between the 8th and 11th. And we find out from a email that was sent from Gull on October the 12th, referencing a phone call on the 10th. That these are the critical days: the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th. These are the 3 critical days that are long before the hearing, October the 19th, and that the attorneys absolutely knew that it was up to the court to consider that they were going to be taken off of it. And so on the 10th, it has been brought up by the prosecution, hey, we want them out of here because they've damaged the case. The discovery's out there, and how much of that discovery is out there, who has it, and what impact will it have on this trial and for a fair trial for Richard Allen, which is absolutely unbelievable that the attorneys, the defense attorneys, allowed this to occur. And but then on the 11th, and I'll read specifically what Richard Allen wrote to the court, so that it's absolutely without a doubt Richard Allen. He recognized, and I'm sure that he didn't write the thing, but he has spoke to his attorneys, and the attorneys wrote it out, and that he wished for the Baldwin and Rosie to remain as his attorneys. And then on the 12th, Gull also advises, after referencing the 10th message of what the removal for the of them representing, she tells them on the 12th, stop working. Now, as an attorney that's representing a client, when a judge tells you that stop working, there's a reason for it, because your whole life, from the time that you're on the clock to the time you that you clock out, is you have one job in this world. That's to represent your client and do everything you can. So on the 12th, I'm pretty sure they realized that, I'm no longer an attorney or representing him because I'm told to stop, stop your work. Let's not do any more. And they're attorneys, so they're smart. I mean, if you can look at 7 or 8 sticks and come up with a theory that it's some pagan group, Odinist group, that committed these homicides, you can look at a document, and when a judge tells you to quit working, that, oh, okay, you might be fired. And so, and that's my thought process, that if you can't figure this out, but you can figure the other stuff out, that it just doesn't, it's crazy. But then on the 19th, of course, that's what brought it in, that, oh, we've been ambushed. We didn't know what was going on. They knew full well what was going on. They had at least somewhere between the 6th and the 12th, they started realizing we have messed up. There was other leaks prior to this where they had been admonished, or the judge had set up some, or there were some issues about other leaks that had occurred about the gag order and things. And so this isn't the first strike against them. And so when they were told on the 12th, stop, that meant almost certainly one thing. And so that's extremely important to realize, that these attorneys, and now they've entered in and saying that, we wish to represent him. And I think it's even been thrown out there that we're his private attorneys now. And how will the court allow them, or will the new attorneys have them on as some type of supporting aid? And I hope that is the case. I really do. I hope that all these attorneys, the two new attorneys, and I hope that the two old attorneys, they get together, they form this dream team, give Richard Allen the best defense that we can. And at the end of the day, the trial and the evidence stands for whatever it is, whatever that finding by the jury is. That's it. I don't have an issue with that. But all this other drama is absolutely shouldn't be there, shouldn't be taking up the court's time. And it's a simple, to me, it seems like it's such a simple answer for the courts, the higher courts, to say, okay, all right, Judge Gold, and I wouldn't even mind if Judge Gold was pulled. I really don't. It's a distraction to this case that shouldn't be there. And if she, as a matter of principle, wants to stay there, and the upper court says that, yes, we're not going to remove her, we're not even going to open up the door for other attorneys to, in the future, be able to do this ploy. Although I don't think that would ever happen. But if for some fact or some reason they remove her, fine. I don't have a problem with it. If we're going to remove her and replace her, let's do it now. Let's do it where right now, that 12 months from now, in October 15th of 2024, it's a non-story, that no one will recall this, because there'll be so many, the way this case is going. And every time we hear something and see something from this release of information about Richard Allen and about the homicides of Libby and Abby, that it's unbelievable. I mean, how many times have you seen people in different professions, from the attorneys to law enforcement, saying, we've never seen anything like this? And it's absolutely true. And that should not be the case. But these emails are enlarged. They're extremely faded and enlarged. And they didn't do a lot of redactions. And I could have went out and got, and I said, well, no, this is good enough. This is almost self-redacting a lot of information. And but these, each of them basically say what I said on the timeline about that. The first one is gives notice of the leak. The second one says, this is the judge talking back, saying, I assume that these are what people are going to be spoken to, investigated. We're going to find out where these images came from, and we're going to do something about it. And then this here is where Richard Allen asked the judge that, please accept this letter as confirmation I have communicated with my attorney, Bradley A. Rossi, regarding the circumstances regarding the leaking of sensitive information in this case. I am aware that images of crime scene photos and other related documents, which means that there's other things out there other than just this crime scene. There's other documents. He knows about it. They discussed it in that with the judge. And how many of what are documents, and is it? And I would expect that if you got the crime scene images, you pretty well have the whole case file. Speculating there, but I would imagine that's pretty much it, because crime scene images are pretty well right there in the middle of everything. Were taken by a friend and former employee of Attorney Baldwin at Attorney Baldwin's office. So we know that Attorney Baldwin is the one that can't lock the door and allows people in that shouldn't have access, and leaves them with valuable information that should not be out there. I have discussed with Attorney Rossi the potential impact that this distribution of these documents could have on my defense. Attorney Rossi has also communicated to me that the prosecutor has requested that my attorneys be disqualified from representing me in this case. I do not want this to happen. This is Richard Allen saying, I do not want this to happen. I want Mr. Baldwin and Mr. Rossi to continue to represent me until this case is resolved, one way or the other. So he's already said that I don't care. I want them as my attorneys. I believe they are acting in a manner that is in my best interest. I appreciate your time and consideration in this matter. So for Richard Allen, I have to say this to him. Be careful what you wish for, because you've got everything hinged on what these two attorneys. Now, one of them, it appears, Rossi is innocent on so many levels that he probably shouldn't have, in the heat of the moment, made that statement, I'm going to withdraw. And can he get back in the case? Don't know. We don't know what interaction communications, we don't know what the investigation revealed about the communications of the people that were interviewed, that had the images and that got the case file, what was in the case file, what communications, what's out there. We have no idea. But we have all this, and like I said, it's on the timeline. And and they're out there on the internet if you want to go get clearer versions of them. But I think that these attorneys, and that if Richard Allen wants Baldwin and Rossi, absolutely give them that. Let's not make it something that is an issue to go from here on out. But now, if the court says no, judges and made the proper decision, okay, I can live with that too. But it will always overshadow this case, and it will bring up potential, in my amateur opinion, of not even amateur, my uneducated opinion about this, that it looks like it would open up the possibility of certain appeals that his attorneys, or at least one of them, Baldwin, I can see that he's out of here. He's not able to control and do things, and I can understand him absolutely just being thrown out and into traffic and under the bus. Have no problem with that. But maybe not so much for Rossi, because it appears that everything he did in good faith, that we know of. And so we have to look at that. But then, of course, we have to look at the parties involved, and we have Frances Gull. And, she's a senior judge, and she's been a judge since in Superior Court since 97. And she was elected in 96 and has been elected 4 times. So the people of Allen County have great confidence in her abilities, and that for the more than 20 years that she's been the administrative judge of the Superior Court's criminal division. So she's seen a lot of things, and people have been making some things that she's had things overturned. Everybody has things overturned. You in your daily job, you have things that maybe not judicially, but there's things that are corrected and overturned and redone that have been, you make mistakes. Has she ever made a mistake or wrong decision? Absolutely. Have the attorneys? Absolutely. And have the prosecutors? Absolutely. Happens. Law enforcement, same way. So we can't just throw everyone under the bus and say that it's a done deal. Richard Allen's case is there will not be justice for him. There will be justice for him. We just have to sit back but my belief in the matter is that if the best defense that these attorneys, old attorneys, Baldwin and Rossi came up with, is that there was a pagan group got together on a creek bank and sacrificed 2 innocent children, and no one else saw this group of people that was on that trail that were able to ambush Libby and Abby and take them to this location and create this once in a thousand or hundreds of years sacrifice. Because I've never even heard of Odinus, and I've never heard of anyone out there. If someone has the information about their rituals of where they commonly sacrifice people, and it's on Halloween or whatever, let me know. I just never heard about it. And I don't think it's something that is going on. Now, are there cults out there that commit crimes and do silly things and horrible crimes? Absolutely. But I'd never heard of this group until now. But these are the people that saying they were ambushed and had no knowledge. I can't see that. They have great imaginations, and they're portraying themselves as their hand got caught in a cookie jar. I'm the youngest of 4 kids. My hand got caught in the cookie jar a lot. And, I'd tell my mom, don't blame me for all the cookies gone, as I brushed them off you got 3 other kids other than me, it didn't matter if I had a cookie in hand, I tried to blame my brothers and sisters. And a lot of times it was my brothers and sisters' fault, because they would get the majority of the cookies, give me 1 cookie, and they'd run off, and then I get blamed with everything. And, but these attorneys, they, especially Baldwin's hand is in the cookie jar. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's the one that created this. So hopefully they do the right thing. And if Rossi gets to stay, fine. I don't have a problem with it. If Baldwin gets to stay, and that's fine too, I don't have a problem with it, because we know what's going to be coming. They have this one laser focus upon that it's this group of this cult. And if that's the best you can do, you're going to have to convince these attorneys will have to convince 12 jurors that are impaneled in Indiana that we have this group of people within the state of Indiana. This is what they do, and it's part of their ritual. And I don't know if any attorneys can convince 12 people of that. So we'll have to see. All they have to do is convince 1 of the 12, but I don't even know if you could do that. But anyway, the next court date, or at least for there'll be some hearings. These new attorneys will get to go through everything, and they'll have the same hearings that were set up for the last year. They'll have the suppression hearing, and there'll be a lot of decorum and different things set up of how the case will progress, and the discovery. All those hearings will be redone. Nothing's changed. Richard Allen's going to get a fair trial. And some of the witnesses, regardless of whoever the witnesses were for Rossi and Baldwin, these new attorneys may not even go down that path. And so we'll just have to see. But today, Judge Gull said that she has grave concerns about their representation, and that she was speaking to Allen, noting that he is entitled to a vigorous defense. I cannot and will not let these attorneys represent you. I cannot allow that. And she may not, but that doesn't mean that other courts higher up will say, yes, you will. And then she will, or some other judge will. And we'll see where that goes. It just depends if the other judges and the higher courts decide that in a timely manner, and I'm sure they're looking at that. And she says, I have appointed able counsel to represent you. Gull said, calling the actions of his first 2 public defenders gross negligence. I'm sorry this has happened to you. So she's sorry that Richard Allen has been exposed to this fiasco, this whatever you want. There's a lot of terms that I can't say in a family environment that I wish I could, and it's absolutely a fiasco. And but hopefully that it has ended, and the courts will handle it from here on out. I have confidence they will. And but if these two attorneys stay on the case, we're going to see some more of this. It's been a madhouse, and if they stay on, I anticipate it will continue. But we'll just have to wait and see. Got any questions?
No, you got a few.
All right.
All right. So here we go. We're going to start with a blue light from Miss Brenda.
Gifted One True membership. Thank you. Appreciate that, Brenda.
Appreciate that. And Truffles is the new member.
Thank you. I love truffles.
Oh, yeah,
That's great. Yeah, that's a great name.
All right. And Kelt.
Thank you for being one of the good guys. Oh, hey, I tried to be the good guy, but Mrs. Steve, she's a driving force that makes you be a good guy.
I don't know about all that, but anyway. All right. So question here from Kelt. Mr. Steve, do you know if Baldwin and or Rozzi wrote that Frank's motion, or was it a paralegal?
I would say it really doesn't matter for the fact that they signed off on it. They put their name at the end. They read it. They approved it. And if you read the other legal documents that have been entered into the higher courts requesting this newest motion to the Supreme Court and to the higher courts of getting the information released, that's how legal documents should read. Or go out there and just pick a random legal document to any case and read it. And you'll see that you'll have citations of and precedents that were set by other courts, and citations in there and references made. And you'll have all of that. And then go and read the Frank's motion, and you'll see that that's not in that. And like I said, it really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's Baldwin and Rozzi that's responsible for that document, and their professionalism of why they did that and what was their end goal. It appears we're seeing what their end goal was, and that's this social media storm that we have. It's almost like this has been a planned situation, and to get to this one spot, and I hope that's not the case.
All right, now I'm going to ask a question that I got earlier from Molly. She's not available tonight, but I wanted to get this out here before I forget it. Can Steve explain that when the judge meets with attorneys and the defendant in chambers, that there is a stenographer in there and it is on record and not released until after the trial usually? It's not backroom shenanigans.
That can occur. I mean, you can have in chambers all different types of things. Now, we don't know if Alan was part of that or not. We don't know if he was within those chambers. I have no idea. But sure, there's things that can happen, and there's deals, but did that happen? I don't know. But yes, there's things that can happen out of view of the public, but then it will be put out there in public if it's not sealed. And but yes, that could absolutely been that. Yes, they had some type of. I know they had some type of meeting because the attorneys came out. Now in the courthouses, most of the time, the defendants are put into a holding cell secured area of the courthouse that is far away from the judges' chambers and separated from where the jury rooms are, and everybody's sequestered from everybody for a lot of different reasons, from security to even things that might taint a trial, and to make sure everybody's separated. But yes, they can have all different types of hearings, and the judges can have all different types of findings. I'm sure that there's some attorneys out there that can clarify a lot of that.
And single mom, true crime. What is a Frank's motion? I tried looking it up, made no sense to me.
It's simply that it's a motion made to the court saying that some type of search warrant or affidavit that the information provided by law enforcement to obtain that search warrant, that probable cause, that it was misrepresented, they lied, and if the judge signing off on that had known the truth, they wouldn't have signed the document. So it's basically just trying to suppress the search warrant. And of course, this is going to be the search warrant for Richard Allen's home. And it's important that they suppress that if they can, for the fact that that takes the gun away from the prosecution. Separation of gun means that, yeah, you can have all the bullets you want to at that crime scene. You ain't got a gun for it to go with because it's suppressed. And so that's huge. And that's one part. Now, they may have other evidence that was also obtained at the residence that hasn't been released, for the fact that it mentions that not only are we have CSI, but we are the crime scene images, but we have other documents. So they could be all different types of documentation of evidence and other things in that case file that we have no idea that exist, that could have been collected from the Richard Allen's home.
All right. And chemo, Sabi, how would Allen's attorneys know the county clerk would mistakenly release the Frank's motion to public access?
I don't know that they have these filings, and I don't know if it's was just normal release or not. Because we didn't see, I think it's been sealed since, but it was later. It wasn't. So I really don't know if it was truly or if it was just a typical filing of a court motion, because most motions are, absolutely available to the public. And so I wouldn't really go that, and I don't know, maybe speaking a little bit out of school there, it was mistakenly released, other than it was just another motion that came across the clerk's desk. They stamped it, sent it through, and it got out there.
Okay, and from Kelt, has the state already declared they are going for the DP?
I think it's still on the table, but I don't recall that they have stated that they were going to. They made the qualifications that it qualifies for it because of the kidnapping part of that results in a homicide.
And Kelt, Mr. Steve, did you hear Baldwin's comment to the journalist? Pretty much called them out to do their job. Any opinions?
Yeah, if Baldwin's commenting to the journalist that he wants the information out there, and and I don't know what context that he did, but no, I didn't hear what he said to him. But if he's trying to make it whereas they are the center of the story, and it doesn't have anything, and as defense attorneys, their focus is one thing: is Richard Allen representing him and showing that he's innocent of this, and that's their main focus. And but the main focus shouldn't be that, in my opinion, that the attorneys have been taken off the case. Other qualified attorneys will be assigned to this case. Now, these other qualified attorneys, how much will they work? Because the judge said that she wished that Baldwin and Rozzi would work with the new attorneys. And so that's an open door that, yes, now you got a dream team. How much will they work with them? Because I think they kind of went that direction today, that they're his private attorneys and will stay on the case. And so we may see that. But no, I don't know in what context that Baldwin wanted the journalist to focus on and what he wanted published out there to the public. I'll have to go back and look at that.
Okay. Let's see here where we're at. We are Sherry Vincent at Steve. What about the guards in the prison and the affidavits they signed about their actions?
Yeah, I mean, it was seized upon that there were odinous and that they had certain, and I know nothing, like I said, I never even heard of these groups, and I may have met 100 of these individuals or 1,000 of them in my life. And because there's a lot of people out there that belong to a lot of different organizations, and I don't know about what their meetings are when they close. They have clubs. I mean, everyone, there's all different types of clubs, and they all have beliefs. And they don't all go out and sacrifice children. Um, and so, just because you have individuals that's within the court or within the correctional institute that may be referenced that they belong to a similar religious belief, doesn't mean that they're all involved. Doesn't mean that they were part of this. That doesn't mean that they're covering up. Look at all the other religions out there, and then you look at people that commit crimes, and then you go. I mean, any religion you wanted to look at that could have been the offenders in this case, with these non-secular possibilities of what I've related to, that regardless of what the religion was, that what religion wouldn't be represented not only by the inmates in that prison, but also by the guards, because law enforcement, guards, judges, lawyers, we're all part of society and we all have different beliefs. Doesn't mean that we always agree with the criminals, that some psychopath that takes it to extreme. Doesn't mean that their misinterpretation of my belief means I agree with what they did.
Okay. And from Mitzi, when you're indigent, how do you get to pick someone yourself?
The court appoints them, and that's why you have the public defender's office. That those attorneys within that office, they work for the court systems, and so they'll represent whoever qualifies to be indigent, and that's your attorney. And that's how the first two attorneys, for the fact that they were DP qualified, they met the parameters of what the state law says, that if an offender possibly will face DP, then they have to have certain qualifications. And of course, Baldwin and Rossi met that criteria, and so they could be on a DP case. And now these other two new attorneys, they're the same. They're qualified. And now I don't know what level Rossi is. I think Baldwin was the one that was the higher, and Rossi was the lower, meeting the DP qualifications. And I would assume that of the other two attorneys, you'll have someone in the same tier, that one of them's higher qualified than the other. And we'll just have to see what roles they play.
All right. And from Kelt, isn't this unusual behavior that these two lawyers for their whole career have never done before? Kind of odd, don't you think?
I don't know. They may do this stuff all the time. I don't know. I've met, some attorneys, and there's some attorneys out there that have bad reputations, and how do you, interpret bad reputation? It depends on which side of the of the bar you're standing on, I guess. But no, I know nothing about the history of these attorneys other than that they are in good standing, and the bar says that they can practice law, and that's all that matters. Because when the bar disqualifies you or pulls your license to practice law, then of course you can't do, you're not an attorney anymore. So I don't know what they've done in their past. I don't know, have they ever been admonished by the court before? I have no idea.
Okay, we're going to take a break for some blue lights.
Calamity Colleen, 1399 Canadian. The leaks from the defense have been a constant drip since they were appointed, even in the new filings. They didn't redact the judge's email, prosecutors' phone numbers, and more. Yeah, well, it's probably on several different levels of that, but yes, and that can all be remedied, and it's not really, you send an email, they block it. You get a new phone number, you block it. So it's nothing that will absolutely drive the court crazy. It happens all the time.
All right. And Southern Gal True Crime, been around for 8 months.
Happy Halloween, everyone. Be safe. Thank you.
Yeah,
and that's true.
Y'all joining us on Halloween.
And if y'all out there tonight riding around, be careful, those kids.
All right. And Olivia.
$2 super sticker. Thank you for your support. We appreciate everybody.
Picture. That's the ocean.
Yeah, leave it to Mrs. Steve. You see that ocean.
And Kamala.
Gifted 5 True Crime Web membership. She was on the members the other day and said that she had to get her blue light.
Well, she likes that blue light. Let's give her. You got to move your head, though. There you go. Blue light for you, Miss Kamala. All right. And I think
her husband came in and said, "Are you getting your blue light?"
Oh, too funny. All right. And from Olivia at Steve, do you think this judge will do a proper job?
The judge is trying to do a proper job. Of course, people are going to, you're going to have those that will never be satisfied that she's biased, she's corrupt, she's part of the corruption, she's had things overturned. And like I say, if they decide that they want to if the higher courts say that, nope, we're done with this, let's get somebody else in there. And then the next judge, the antics that will be pulled on it. And no individual makes perfect decisions every time. They do the best they can for the spirit of the court and with the laws and the spirit of each law, and try to do and make sure that we have fair trials and justice is found for our victims, and we have that the offenders have fair trials is all that we ask for. And I have confidence. Judge Gull hasn't sat on the bench for 20 years being a fool. She's there because she's well qualified.
Okay. And from Ishi Garza, hey Steve, is this feud between the lawyers and judge enough for RA to say he didn't get a fair trial or get a new trial?
Great question and great point. And I think that this one letter of where Alan says that, hey, I want them. Well, be careful what you wish for, because like I said, if the best you can do is that your 2 attorneys says that there's a rampaging group of paganists running around sacrificing children, hey, if that's the best you can do, then have at it. But I hope that's not the case. But I do think that that will be something that would be brought up after a trial. If he's found guilty, that he will address that issue and come up from that angle and saying that I lost the attorneys who could have gotten me off, and I lost my I think Sixth Amendment right of representation, and and he'll at least there's a possibility that he can appeal it. Doesn't mean that it'd be granted, but that he does have reason for an appeal.
And WL22, I can't believe the new defense team let the former team sit at counsel table.
Well, and like I said, the judge, even on the 19th when she said, I hope that, they're not required to cooperate and they're not required to share their work product. And I hope they do. Because if that happens, then all this other stuff as we move forward is a non-issue. That if these new attorneys say that, okay, Judge, it's a non-issue. There's no need for them to continue the fight and trying to get back on the case. They're just, I mean, the door has been opened. Even the judge said that I've requested, and they said that they will cooperate. So if they want to cooperate, they can cooperate. There's nothing saying that they can't come in the courthouse. There's nothing saying now they may not have the same ability of speaking with Alan, although there may be that these new attorneys create a situation where the contact and the interviews and everything that was happening with Baldwin and Rosie prior to this, there may be some leeway there, but I hope they do become a part of it for the fact that it takes care of a lot of the appeal issues and the in the future, because it'll be documented.
Okay. Well, we got a new one. Look here, Alley Cat just signed up.
Became a YouTube member. I think Alley Cat's been there before, but I see Alley Cat and chat a lot. But
yeah, they're there a lot, but I don't know about the member thing. Maybe so. All right, and let's see here. Nope, brand spanking new. It looks like.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alley Cat.
Figured it out.
Appreciate your support.
All righty. All right. Got a few more here.
Sure.
All right, and from Lone Pony. And if the new attorneys screw up, I mean, it is Delphi. I just don't know if this was the right move. But what do I know? I just hate it for the families. Can't imagine.
That's it. This is a circus of proportions that, yes, never seen anything like it. And what is the remedy? And I think the remedy is simply let them do what they want to do. Let the new attorneys stay on and let the old attorneys work with them. And that'll settle the issue. I don't, it sounds simple, but I'm sure it's far harder to accomplish.
Okay, and I've got two from CJK that I got to do back to back because it's a continuation.
Sure.
All right, first part for Steve is Alan wants to plead guilty. Does his confessions, wait a minute, have to line up with the evidence against him?
If he wishes, yes. I mean, they, for justice, they want to make sure. And of course, the prosecution and law enforcement says we have the evidence to convict him. So, can he get up there and during his plea deal and confess to other things that in his psychotic mind, if he's confessing that he didn't do, and that instantly means that he wasn't involved, because you're dealing with people that have mental issues, that commit such crime against children or any victim that commits a homicide. I mean, you're not in your proper mind to be doing that type of acting to start with. But it's one thing when you're confessing and prosecution doesn't know who the offender is and law enforcement doesn't know who the offender, and only the offender would know the evidence. When that type of confession occurs, then yes, it has to line up. In this case, they've got the bullet and whatever else they may have out there, because like I said, they took a lot of things from the house, from my understanding, and some of those things may link him to the crime. But yeah, it's a little bit different that whatever he confesses to, or if he does enter a plea, maybe not all the information would have to line up specifically.
All right. And Ruckus is in chat.
Hello, Ruckus.
Earth Secrets is in chat, and she would like for you to repeat what you said over the last 53 minutes since she just joined.
Yes.
You think Lester could do that?
No.
Sorry. All right. Kristen behind the crime door just popped in.
Hello, Kristen. Hope you're doing well tonight.
Let's see here. So you are done.
All righty, guys. Well, like I said, they had claimed that was an ambush, and I don't think that is the case for the fact that there was a lot of shots fired across the bow, and they knew. And anytime, if you're every one of us, not well, at some time during our job, we've been told to just stop doing what you're doing, and some people have been fired at that, and I think that's what was going on, and I think they knew what was going on from the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th, and because we have 7 days before they went to court, and they didn't have a work product because the judge had told them on the 12th, quit working on the case, and that can only mean one thing, that you're no longer be representing, and kind of confusing when the judge says that they had something occur that was unanticipated. Still confused about that, but there's a lot of things that confuses me about this case. But anyway, guys, I appreciate y'all being here. Appreciate all y'all's support, and the donors, the mods, and everybody in chat. And we appreciate it. And y'all stay safe out there. Watch out for the kids tonight, and don't eat too much of the candy.
And Purdue is out there, so make sure Winston gives my Halloween sugars. Always, always, always. All right. Thank you, mods. Couldn't do it without y'all. Love you. Y'all be safe.